She is soft and wild, and I keep finding her growing in unexpected places. Join me, who shall come and join me among the fate who dance, dancing around, all around, in the fairy ring, sing under tree, under tree. Good morning, welcome to Lost for Words, where we explore great women poets. I'm Sarah Woods, and today we are continuing exploring the poetry of Miss Sherry Lazarus Ross in her book of poetry called Seeds of the Pomegranate. As you know, super quickly, this book of poetry has the themes of seasons and nature and fantasy sort of infused throughout all of the poems. And it's wrapped in the mythology of Persephone and her mother Demeter and their desire to be together, which results every year in spring and summer. And then the 6 months of the year where Persephone has to go and spend 6 months in the underworld with Hades because she ate the food of the dead. And so she must spend 6 months out of the year in the underworld, causing the earth to go into fall and winter. But today we're exploring a poem that is really beautiful, and it is a mother looking at her daughter, and it's a really, I love this poem so much. So we'll just go ahead and jump straight into it so we can explore it. Here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and read it to you. All right, this is called Creeping Thyme, and it's on page 41. And this is thyme like the herb. She says, I plant you on the hill and find you on the patio 4 years later, pushed up between slate cracks. You spread out toward and away, soft and wild, especially after a spring rain, a fragrant throw. My daughter has this knowledge. She is soft and wild, grows double wise, and shows herself in unexpected places. So here we have this short little poem about creeping thyme. So we have this herb. The way she's describing thyme, this herb, is an herb that I guess it must, as it grows, it must like creep along the ground and keep spreading out. Which is, I really like that idea, that it doesn't just stay one size, that it keeps maneuvering and growing and spreading into different places. And so she starts off this poem and she says, I plant you on the hill and find you on the patio 4 years later, pushed up between slate cracks. So here you have this woman. When you think of planting something, you plant it with purpose because you want it to be in a certain place. You're like, I'm planting this plant here because I want to watch this plant grow right here. And she said, I plant you on the hill and find you on the patio 4 years later, pushed up between slate cracks. Which is, I love this because here we have where she's planted this creeping thyme, and it's been 4 years since she planted this herb, and 4 years later she walks out onto her patio and finds a surprise. Here she has some of the same thyme growing on her patio, not where she planted it. I love that idea. I don't know if you've ever had that happen with anything. I know I bought these little pansies last year. They're like the Johnny Jump Up ones. They're the tiny pansies, and I love them so much. Like, I like regular pansies, okay, but to me their flowers are just kind of big, and I don't know. I really like the tiny pansies that are really little, and when they grow and they get all bushy and they're full of all the tiny little blooms, it's really beautiful and purple and yellow, and I just love these pansies. And so I had some last year on my table out on my porch, just in a little pot. So I never planted these anywhere in the yard. And later, I think in the fall maybe,
I was looking around one of my plants, and that was down off the porch, on the ground, and I had some other plants down there, and when I was looking underneath the shrub, these tiny little pansies were starting to grow under this shrub, and I was like, how did you get here? And I just remember the delight of finding, like, I had planted this plant in a pot, and I thought once it grew and did its thing, it was like an annual, and it would not come back. I wouldn't see it anymore. So to discover it growing just in this random, like under this other little shrub, all these little sprouts of this same flower, to me was like exhilarating. It was like, oh, just an unexpected surprise to get to see this plant having spread itself out and growing somewhere else. So I can actually really relate to this poem, and that the joy of discovering something you've planted has made its way somewhere else, and it's like, hi. You're like, how did you get here? And it's like, I don't know, it's just what I do. And it says, you spread out toward and away, soft and wild, especially after a spring rain, a fragrant throw. My daughter has this knowledge. She is soft and wild, grows double wise, and shows herself in unexpected places. So she describes this time that, especially after it rains, that, there's like, you can just imagine this beautiful, soft rain coming in the middle of the summer, and it's just a little bit windy and breezy, and that it causing this time to spread out and keep maneuvering and keep growing. And she said a fragrant throw. And so you can almost, it's not just that the plant is spreading out, that its fragrance is spreading to new places too, which I really like. And then she compares this this creeping thyme that is spreading out and spreading out and sprouting in unexpected places to her daughter, which I think is really beautiful. She said, my daughter has this knowledge, like my daughter knows how to do this, and she is soft like this herb and wild like this herb, and grows double wise and shows herself in unexpected places. That, to me, it makes me think of like survival, and that this plant's, part of its survival is that it's capable of, it doesn't just stay in one place. Whoops, my hair's falling out. Yeah, part of this plant's survival and beauty that it gives to the world is that it doesn't just stay in one place, that it grows and then spreads and lands in other places that you don't expect it to. And so you, in experiencing this plant, just like this woman is experiencing her daughter, she realizes how wise her daughter is, and it's part of her survival and part of her joy and delight in life to not just stay planted in one place, that she spreads out into unexpected places, and you never know where she might pop up or where you might see her. And that she considers this, that when she looks at this plant and when she looks at her daughter, like, to me, that's such a high compliment to look at your daughter and say that she is double wise by showing herself in unexpected places. That she's not just, because when you think of soft and wild, that's sort of like this beautiful, spontaneous, or, beautiful spontaneity that this plant has. But it's also wisdom, which I think is really, I feel like that's a very beautiful combination, to see someone as soft and wild and double wise. I really like that. I like the idea of being surprised by people just as much as plants, by seeing your children grow and do things that you're not expecting them to. Like, you might have a vision for your child to do specific things and be certain things and be planted in certain places, but to watch them and go about life and then all of a sudden see your child doing something that you weren't expecting, or living and creating something you weren't expecting, or loving someone you weren't expecting, like, you know what I mean? Just living life in a way that has unexpected joys. I feel like that's I feel like this has the possibility of making being a parent, like, this makes being a parent seem really exciting, that you never know what you're going to encounter with your daughter or your child. So I really love this poem. So that's all I'm going to do this week. We're going to stop right there. We're going to keep that really simple. I believe that next week is going to most likely be our last week with Sherry Lazarus Ross. And we are going to do, my goal is, this could change, but my goal is to, now that we've played a little bit inside this book of poetry, is to go to the beginning and explore the poem that Persephone writes to her mother, and then explore the last poem where Demeter talks to her daughter. So we can kind of sort of encapsulate our experience in this book of poetry, Seeds of the Pomegranate. See what it is this mother and daughter are saying to each other across this book of poetry. Anyway, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you again next time. Bye.